We were praising this story
Yeah,
early in our last. I think it was
yeah, we were.
we were saying it's a great outcome. How good, and the outcome stands. It's important to say. So the story is the festival strip searching. If you missed it, we spoke about it last time, but it was sort of a landmark court decision after a class action was brought by festival attendee Raya Meredith. She was subject to a strip search at Splendour in the Grass in 2018. She was asked to remove a tampon and no drugs were found. The court, through Justice Dina Yahaya, ruled that the search was humiliating and unlawful, clarifying that police could only conduct a strip search in a very exceptional circumstances, such as suspicion of a high-level drug supply or weapon possession. So that really outlines it's not just someone using it; it's high-level supply. Meredith was awarded $93,000 in damages, and that was sort of where we left it last time. There was another sort of class action that was sort of being met. We said positive outcome. We know that strip searching isn't perfect, far from it. We were hoping that the government could the police force could take a look at themselves and sort of reflect on this and say, maybe we need to change the way we're doing things. And then news came out that the state government have filed a notice of intention to appeal, meaning that the judgment stands for now but could be overturned. So, pessimism hat back on.
Yeah. It never left. It never left. And now can you see why? So yeah, we had the case, Raya Meredith, she won. That was a personal case for her, but it was seen as a landmark decision that would set a legal precedent. And she's also the lead plaintiff in a class action. So that she had a personal case, which she won. She was awarded $93,000 in damages. The court confirmed that, yes, it was wrong. And then what the discussion after that was like, okay, well, this is a precedent. So there are other people who are going to be able to use this in order to get a result for themselves. Also, there's this class action made up of, I think it was about 3,000 people who were strip searched between 2023 and 2018, I believe it was. And they're all going to have quite a case now too based on this decision. And when this decision was handed down, we're going, beautiful, happy days. Not happy days, but this is good. This is a positive step.
Yeah.
Then the state government apologized, and then the police apologized, which is an admission that they did the wrong thing. And then they appealed it, and they lodged a notice of appeal, and our premier stood up before the media and went, no. I'm the leader of this state. We had a drug summit. It was the 18th investigation in about 7 years that we've had into drugs in this state and strip searching and music festivals. And for the 18th time, there wasn't actually 18, I'm exaggerating, but for the umpteenth time, for how many of these investigations we've had, coronial inquests, Senate inquiries, government inquiries, drug summits, they've all come back and said the same fucking thing. And every one of them goes, hey, maybe you should get rid of sniffer dogs because they're actually really bad and they're very inaccurate. Maybe you should stop strip searching because it's incredibly degrading and often traumatizes people and they yield very little outcome. And we had all the smartest minds in the land come together and come up with this idea. And yet again, the Premier stands up and goes, actually, no. Actually, I don't reckon. And we're not going to do that. And also we're appealing this decision because it could mean we get in a bit of strife down the track, and we want to keep doing that stuff that all the people who are experts in this over many, many inquiries have said we shouldn't be doing. And here we find ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, perfectly wrapped up. I said it was a puzzling decision. That is to put it mildly. That is that's a very surface level description of the decision that the government have made here to appeal it. You mentioned the Premier Chris Minns. He said that the government supported the police's decisions to appeal, adding that strip searches are still an important measure to keep people safe, which I'd love to know where he's getting that from, because as you mentioned, all the experts are saying the opposite of that. The Premier also continued saying police are caught in a difficult position where drugs are still illegal. They're not legal, particularly the supply of drugs at music festivals, and they've got a responsibility to keep people safe. I'm not arguing with that point. That is a true statement. Drugs are illegal. Police do need to keep people safe. That's fine. It's the method of which they're adopting to try and do that, which is where a lot of these problems are arising. He also continued saying, I believe they'll use that power if it was granted to them via appeal judiciously, not in a broad, sweeping way, and they'll make sure that they are fully trained. We'll wait for the court to make a decision.
Honestly, shameful. Like, I think it's disgusting. And particularly from, like, you know, I don't know, for the Premier to stand up and go and say those things. And like, I also wonder, how does this appeal work? Because there's been an admission of guilt, an admission they did the wrong thing with that particular strip search, which is what this case centered on in 2018. That particular strip search, they did the wrong thing. So on what grounds are they appealing that? Which we'll have to wait and see. Like, often with appeals, it's, you can't just lodge an appeal just because you don't agree with the verdict. There has to be kind of, maybe there was a step in the prosecuting of the case that was, you know, not above board or whatever else. So they could be pursuing this on a technicality while still admitting that they did the wrong thing and trying to get off that way and then be able to keep strip searching to their heart's content in other ways. But it's just like, here was a moment, an opportunity where we had so much evidence. We had a court case that, you know, is, and hopefully still is, set to set a precedent and change things, where a leader, a proper leader, could have stood up and gone, okay, we've been doing things wrong. We need a new approach. Here's what we're going to do. Here's a new approach. The court said it's wrong. Every body that's investigated this has said it's wrong and it's ineffective and it's not really helping people and keeping them safe. We need a new approach, and this is the moment we're going to do it. And it's not like he was dragging people kicking and screaming to that conclusion. It's not like everything was going along fine that happened. This was like a proper fork in the road where he could have gone. And Chris Minns has chosen to stake on the course. And I think that's going to be an indictment on his legacy, where he had an opportunity to really carve out a positive legacy. I think that's a really bad step that he's made. And I just think that standing up and saying that, you know, after this decision and saying, well, no, we're going to appeal this poor woman who was, you know, strip searched in the most horrible way in 2018 because we don't want her to win this case. And then presumably that means they're going to claw back the money and damages from her if they win. I just think is disgusting.
Yeah, like you said, like, they've admitted guilt and fault. That was the opportunity. I mean, they've done the appeal, which is obviously, you know, it's its own thing. We've outlined why it's disgusting. But like, they've admitted that what they were doing was bad. It was wrong. They were at fault. That is the time for introspection. That is the time where you hold a mirror up to yourself as a government, as a police force, as an industry, and go, okay, this was bad. We've admitted that it's bad. How can we make sure that badness doesn't happen again? And instead, they've gone, okay, that was bad. Yep, that's on us. But what if it wasn't on us? What if we could maybe appeal that decision and have the courts officially notice that it wasn't our fault, and that way we can just continue the practices that we've been doing, and then the legal precedent will be set on our side whenever someone else tries to come forward again. And that is, you know, the real,
and we'll save money.
Well, yes and no, because now they're appealing the taxpayer money that this is then going to cost in this appeal, the needless costs, just so they can pass the blame that they've already admitted to. I don't know. It's baffling to me. And I suppose the scary thing on this is, if there is some sort of legal precedent that does side with the police at the end of this, I don't know what the future will look like for other, you know, class actions or individual appeals similar to Raya Meredith coming forward.